Highlights of the plan that was promoted yesterday. Now, I just want to be real clear, just because the governor said all of this stuff doesn't mean that any of it is going to happen. And what I'm hearing from most people is that most of what he did yesterday was a real overshoot. He may have really screwed up, but who knows. It does make the debt worse because if we drive any money away from the system into another plan, we will we're kind of like starving the plans. We don't have money in the fund, which is mostly investment income. So that's why we say we're making the debt worse. We're cutting benefits for current employees by stepping back the multiplier. But what we're really doing with this is starting to really tinker with the way the plan is designed, again, which leads to instability, which could really lead to an eventual sort of implosion of it. Again, this is a political winner for Corbett anyways. Immediately, the unions and lots of individuals will sue for what's called impairment of contract, because Pennsylvania state law is very clear on this. I believe that they don't care if they win or lose. They get to win in the press when they can produce their daily legal bills. Look how much this lawsuit is costing the taxpayer. They're going to pick the fight with us, and even if they lose, they still win in the public. And again, the can kicking is about these things I referred to earlier, the collars. So if you think of like a dog collar, the collars right now are artificially suppressing what the payments should be. So you're literally collaring that flow of money, and over the next several years, the collars are supposed to be released. So, meaning the Commonwealth has to dump more money in. So what he's suggesting is keep the collars tight and actually tighten them down even more. So instead of properly funding the plan, he's suggesting that we tighten the collars and the Commonwealth make less payments instead of more, again, with the goal of imploding the plan. All right. So what are we going to do about this? For the near future, try to ignore the governor and his rhetoric. Be mad at him, pick up the phone and call him and yell at him if you'd like. But the people who are going to make decisions about this is the 253 people who sit in the State House. We can make a lot of noise around the governor, but I doubt we're going to get him off of his position. He's made it clear. Again, I think he overshot, which helps us. But at the end of the day, the people who will vote on new legislation are the ones that we have to be talking to. So these are just a couple of sample questions. How do you plan to fund pensions for current and future state workers? You will find, if you have conversations with the state legislature, who are all in the state employee pension fund, they don't understand at all how these pensions are funded, at all. And because like all of you, it's not their job to be experts. It's a benefit that they get along with being elected to the General Assembly. They don't get it. And hopefully, over the next 5 months, we can help educate them about how the pensions are funded and why it would be a really bad move for Pennsylvania to walk away from it. So, again, what about the benefits for current and future retirees? Because if the plan implodes, there's no money to pay those pension benefits to current retirees. Disaster. Disaster. And I think this is a critical question. Why now? Why now when Act 120 was just enacted? Well, why now? Because the governor is pushing them in that direction. That's partially why now. And again, this idea of living up to commitments. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania would be the first state, meaning all around us, Ohio, New York State, New Jersey, even West Virginia. West Virginia moved away, and for state employees moved away from defined benefit, went to a defined contribution, and then went back to defined benefit because they found out the same thing we already know. It costs more money for defined contribution programs than it does for a defined benefit plan. Okay, and again, this is kind of an escalation, so we want to reach out to all of our state reps and state legislators, excuse me, state senators, call them, email them, set appointments with them, go back to them, ask for a response in writing. And there's been research that's been done on this. If a state legislator gets 30 handwritten letters, that keeps their interest. That gets their attention. PSEA, I think you've sent 150,000 postcards or something into the Capitol building, and that's great. That's really good. But we've done that. Okay, that's done. We don't need to send another 150,000. We need handwritten letters from constituents to your state senator and your state rep. If you're a state employee and you're in the fund, there's a sample letter in the packet there with really strong language that, of course, I would recommend, but you know, it's up to you which one to write in the letter. And the Clear Coalition handout has got some more boilerplate language from you as a supporter if you're not in the state employee pension fund that you can kind of copy. The bottom line is you can't screw these letters up. You can't possibly screw it up as long as it says something about supporting defined benefit pensions for public sector employees and letting Act 120 work. The key, again, is the outreach. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I think Joe Biden said a couple of weeks ago, let us not let the perfect get in the way of the good. So don't worry about being perfect. It doesn't have to be. And what's next? The next 5 months are going to be bumpy and ugly and horrible for a lot of public sector union workers, a lot of union workers in general, and I think Greg wants to get to that next. This does affect everyone in this room. I'm sure you all have a cousin or someone who's a teacher or a state employee. We all are going to be affected by this. And I can tell you from my experience in Wisconsin, it is devastating. There are members of my family who I can't even communicate with anymore. This was all by design. And it's heartbreaking to me that that's what's happened. But for the first time in many, many decades, people in Wisconsin were having really serious fights in their families about their values. And that's really what Governor Corbett is laying down this challenge. It's sort of like opening up a really big floodgate here. And if we all stand together, I really believe we can stop them. I believe we can convince the General Assembly just back off. This is a really bad direction. We don't want to go down this road. I believe that. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it because it's a huge amount of work, but we have to try. And I really want to reiterate this. This is not about political ideology. It really isn't. The people who are going to win this for us in the State House are going to be mainly Republicans because guess what? They're in the majority. So for all of you out there who may be Republican, I hope I haven't said anything to offend you. Really, I hope I haven't. But it's incredibly important to understand that just because somebody is a Democrat does not mean that we have their support. And if we do, we need to shore them up. We need to thank them. We need to tell them that we appreciate their support. And we need to do that over and over and over again because this is political suicide for these people. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Apparently it is. All of them.
Yeah, exactly.
2014.
That's right. That's right.
Jeez.
So that's the story. I hope okay, so 45 minutes, I'm used to taking an hour. So with that, I really do want to open it up to questions. And then Greg, we can pick up your agenda. And really quickly, if I could just go through this packet with you. So we've got the 2 pages of talking points about Act 120. Those are also on the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO website. I do.
They're on the front there, the desk.
The draft letter. So if you don't know how to find your state rep or your state senator, there will be lots of people in this room who can certainly point you in that direction, but you probably know how to do that. Handwritten letters are best. If not, you can go to the Clear Coalition website and cut and paste some of that text, throw it in an email and get it to them. But again, handwritten letters really are best. And my grandmother, who died at 99, used to love to write letters to politicians on toilet paper. This is what I think of your crummy policies. And then she would list it out. Now, hilarious, right? But I bet those letters got attention. So be creative, you know. Colored paper, I don't know. This dollar bill is incredibly useful if you're trying to help people understand how the pension is funded. The 10 cents that says "Sirs employers," what that really is the Commonwealth. They're the employer. 10 cents on the dollar comes from the employer. 18 cents on the dollar comes from the union member, from the worker. And 72 cents on the dollar comes from investment income. in 2008, when the market crashed, we saw that 72 cents probably get cut in half. Huge amounts of money out of the system. Not news, that's the reality, and that's the bulk of what has caused this crisis. The important thing to know is the 18 cents on the dollar that you all have been paying in, you never took a holiday, nobody ever told you you didn't have to pay in. So that is what we're staking our whole claim on here. Fairness. You paid in, the 10 cents on the dollar folks didn't, and Wall Street screwed up too, big time. So we have to trust them that they're going to help us earn our way out of this so we can all retire eventually, because if you've got a 401k, if you've got a home with equity, we all need the markets to be strong. But again, critical to understand that dollar bill. This again, like I'm telling you to ignore the charts and graphs, but just so you know where this came from. This came from the House Appropriations Committee, and it's a graph, a chart that shows that these plans are designed to weather really ugly economic circumstances. They're designed to be a firewall. There will be ups and downs in the way that they're funded, but they're designed to weather this stuff. And we're actually 65% funded roughly. That's actually pretty good overall in terms of the full health of the pension fund. 65% is really not that bad. And then the last thing here, I copied the cover page just so you would know where it came from. The Pension Challenge and Reform Opportunity, the very last thing in the packet. This is the one-pager from the governor's budget brief yesterday. The whole budget is 1,000 pages, and then he distills it down into 25 pages for people like us, and then I took the pension page out. So this is what he's talking to people about, just for your sort of edification. Yes, Greg.
I'll gladly email to you.
You know me.
Yeah, I know you. Yeah, I'll pass it out.
Okay, thank you.
So, maybe before we start with questions, I just wanted to highlight, and our friends from PSEA can talk about this, and ask me or whoever, the public sector unions have internal member mobilization programs, but I want to highlight what PSEA is doing, which is that every building where PSEA has members, there's a goal of getting a person in that building, meaning a teacher, probably, who is kind of that building rep for the pension campaign. So you probably have, I don't even know how many thousands and thousands of buildings. And if they succeed in recruiting a person in every building to manage this, this is huge. This is like really good organizing. And I really want to highlight that. And I don't know a lot about AFSCME's program. Do you know?
Well, right now, what we're currently doing, we're staying on the Clear Coalition track.
Okay.
That's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
But I agree with you. I mean, we have to get one in every dog workplace, just as we're already doing the right to work. One in every workplace, and then they have to be staunch, because if we waver, we'll lose it all. Bottom line is we'll lose it all.
I could not.
And it's up to leaders in this room to stand up and let's make it happen.
That's right.
This is my opinion, it's scary as hell.
Waiting for someone's permission is not.
The gun already started. They already shot off.
That's right.
It's time to go.
Does anybody else have anything to add about member mobilization or anything that's going on within your unions you might have heard about? You guys are the public sector folks, so you're going to have the most intense internal programs.
Oh, yeah, we know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I just want to point out that with PSEA, it's not just teachers. It's bus drivers, it's cafeteria workers, it's very low wage workers who, you know, their pensions are probably only $15,000 a year after 35 years. The average pension that we get is only $24,000 a year. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, people unfortunately have a lot of resent for teachers and you know, they're lazy, they do this, and I know it's not in here. But when you're talking about it, a lot of our members are just, you know, hourly workers who, if they wouldn't have this pension, wouldn't have anything.
That's exactly right. And I just want to add too, particularly for yesterday we had an emergency conference call, and a couple of leaders in the building trades reminded us, which I appreciated, that when talking to building trades members, because our pensions are funded so differently, when we're reaching out to the trades particularly, they have a very different understanding of how the pensions are funded because they have a completely different system. So we're looking for the trades who, as we know, have a lot of political clout in this state to support us, and they're giving us really good feedback. So I really encourage you, please, my feelings won't be hurt. I love criticism. So if there are things you're recognizing that I'm missing, please tell me. If there are questions that might be hard to ask, please ask them, because we're really kind of learning as we go here. So I appreciate any feedback or any kind of gaping holes, particularly from the private sector unions, about what we're missing here. So fire away, throw a rock. It's okay, it's my birthday, I'll be able to deflect it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So I was just actually writing you a note. Just writing you some
Does
feedback.
everybody know? Yeah.
Yeah, hi, everyone. The fact sheet that the public employees retirement security, where it starts with the average pension, public pension is $24,000 a year. Like, that's good information to have, because people think that people get like a ton, $100,000 pension, which we know is not true. But my recommendation, given what you just said about people not understanding that public employees actually pay into their pensions, is maybe to highlight more the 6.25 and 7.5,
Yeah.
like make that the top thing, right?
Yep.
Like, we pay more into our pensions than anyone else around the country, right? So that people can see that right away.
Yep.
Because I think there was some discussion about, some people $24,000 a year would be like a good pension.
That's a lot of money,
Right,
if you don't
and
have
so
pension.
maybe
Yep.
highlighting, we pay into our pensions first.
Yep.
As opposed to, and then, then some worries, we're not wealthy, right, so.
Yeah, the messages that we think are reasonable to the public. If you're the guy sitting at home who's been unemployed for 2 years, and you've seen all the equity in your house sucked out completely, I don't blame that guy for being mad when he sees somebody talking about their pension. I get it. Yes.
And I know another thing that a lesson in West Virginia is, when they switched their educational employees to the defined contribution plan, they came to recognize, number one, they would not provide them with enough retirement income. And and that wasn't the reason that they switched it back. What they figured out was going to happen is they were creating a new class of poor that was going to drain the public services and cost much, much more than funding the pensions. And I think that's another thing that we ought to harp on is what you're going to end up doing is if you don't allow people to have this pension, which will allow them, like your mother, to live on their own, you're only going to create more and more expense for public and more taxpayer dollars. And I don't think we emphasize that enough.
Well, and it is true that, people are gonna have to, they're still gonna have to live, and if you retire at 55 or 62, like I said, my grandmother died, she was 99. She lived many years beyond the actuarial tables, so, and someone's gotta provide for these people. I mean,
You
I
better have
think
a good relationship with your kids.
that's why I make the joke about my mother's pension, but my mother's pension is what preserves my relationship with my mother.
Better hope your kids make money.
She could
Teaching
live
mine
at
to
home.
golf.
Any other questions, concerns?
Just have a comment, I want to go off on Jan's comment. I think that we can make it simpler, instead of doing the percentage of what a person puts in annually, it'd be clear if it's $3,000 they put in annually towards their pension. That is something that's up in their face. When you go with percentages, there's a lot of people that muddies the water. When you have it in black and white, I'm putting $3,000 away a year for my pension, what the hell are you doing? And I deserve that, and that's where we need to go.
Well, and I think too, when you say a percentage, because there's a perception out there that teachers are overpaid, that doesn't even seem like a big thing, but a lot of people don't understand that a lot of public workers make way less than $80,000 or $90,000 a
That's why you
year,
put a dollar amount in,
Yep.
and what the average person puts into their doggone pension, and then you see what they get back,
Yep.
that's not rocket science.
And when you're writing your letter to your legislator, I hope you're all going to do when you get home tonight, a good way to reflect that is to say, if I were a public employee, I would be paying in this much, and you can actually calculate what of your pay, or you could tell them, I pay into my pension this much money, and I don't understand why we want to take away from the hardworking people of Pennsylvania, anything that they have paid into and they have earned.
Perfect, that's the message that has to come across.
Yeah.
That's what people aren't getting.
Yeah.
Because I listen to Fox News too, and that's what they're driving. They're driving the percentages, and everybody's making 60 grand on retirement. Let's put out the damn truth.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it in a way everybody can understand it like that.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to say, oh, we're trying to hide something, we're not. Here's the facts.
Yep, and it's, and just on the press for a second, when you see stuff in your local newspapers about the pension issue, if you write a letter to the editor, they may or may not print it, we can provide support at the AFL, Clear Coalition, your individual union probably has somebody who can help you draft a letter, but again, don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. It's great to respond to that stuff, and we have a pretty big network now of people who can respond in the press. But just for all of you too, that's incredibly helpful, and particularly so in these small communities where everybody reads those letters. So they always say people read the letters to the editor and the obituaries. I don't think they read anything else, so it's really important. So if you can catch that for us, and don't assume that we've seen it. You know, just get a response out or call your friend who's an ASME member and let them know so we can make sure we can stay on that stuff.
By the way, we over here love your dollar thing.
What's that?
We love your dollar.
I love that dollar.
Yes, the dollar's
I
great.
love that dollar. That dollar would represent also my amount of retirement savings, which is about $1 at this point. So if I've learned one thing, and I'll tell you, today's my 41st birthday. I have not saved enough for retirement, and I better step it up. So I have to start saving way more than 6% of my salary if I want to catch up. So I've spent a lot of years spending it down. So all right, I will step aside, and Greg, you can take the reins. But thank you all so much, and again, please feel free to photocopy this, push it widely, forward it widely. None of this is a secret by any stretch of the imagination. Our website, paaflcio.org, has the talking points there and a little bit of stuff. Clearforpa.org also has some stuff. And I'm sure as time goes on, PSVA and ASME's websites are good resources as well. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Trust me, we're all in this together, and this is really about basic fairness. So appreciate all of your time, and I'll stick around afterwards too to answer individual questions.
EPA and ASME, are they coordinating with the building trades in this here?
Well,
I heard you mention you had a conference.
Yeah, what we're trying to do with people like Frank Sirianni, who's the head of the building trades for the state, and people in Philly who are kind of the heads of the councils and the labor council leaders, the information kind of has to come from the top down, sort of. But what I'm encouraging you all to do is not assume that your business manager or whoever it is that's sort of in charge of your local has heard about all of this. So we're kind of pushing the rock up the hill at the same time that we're hoping it'll come down. But we are reaching out to the building trades. We're reaching out to also people like AARP, people outside of the realm of unions. And you'll notice in my letter, I don't even mention the union. And it's not because I'm saying we should be ashamed or embarrassed that we're in the union, but if it says union local, they set that in a pile of like, oh, those union agitators again. This is about you as a voter and a constituent first. And if you want to put your union designation on there, that's great, but this is not really, truly about political party, and it's really not truly about the union. This is about fairness, and it's about you as a voter. So I just want to highlight that too. Okay? Great.